Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, Lore and Fray, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So I have talked a lot over the past several years about how much I enjoy Goldeneye and how much I really liked it when I played it back in the day, and how over the years I just kind of fell off of it. Not because the game was bad or anything. I just never because I played it so late. I never really did everything there was to do in the game, and as a result of that, I never felt like I had the full experience. So although I enjoyed GoldenEye, although I've talked about it a lot, even though I defended it from people attacking it and things like that, I wasn't comfortable coming out and declaring it to be one of the best games of its kind for a couple of reasons. Because of my lack of experience with other games, because of, how I hadn't played GoldenEye, because I hadn't played Perfect Dark, there's so many reasons why I haven't talked a lot about GoldenEye over the years. And now that I've come back to it, now that I've played this game again, not only is GoldenEye one of the best games on N64, it is one of the best first-person shooters ever made, and one of the best games Nintendo ever put out. Period. This game is a masterpiece, and for too long, I think we have heard from pretendos and shills and YouTubers trying to downplay this game, trying to pretend that it was a fluke, or that Miyamoto tried to ruin it, or that it was because of the license, or because the N64 had no games. I've seen people negatively compare this to Doom or Quake or Unreal Tournament or Halo. That's the meme a lot of people come up with, is that Halo killed GoldenEye. There are all these reasons that so many people have tried to downplay GoldenEye over the years. And now that it's available again, now it's 2023, now that this game is readily available for download on Switch and on Xbox, although no one's playing it, it is safe to say that GoldenEye is an absolute masterpiece. This game more than lives up to its hype. This game is, if anything, is kind of underrated by modern standards, considering how it feels like so many younger players don't really understand what makes this a stellar first-person shooter, right? It's amazing to me, in the genre that I typically never play a stage more than once, how often I'm playing stages over and over and over in GoldenEye to not only get through them as quickly as possible, but just to beat them and just to get better at them and just to more consistently get through these stages. GoldenEye just does what other games doesn't do or don't do, in that it actually feels like you're going around shooting people. When you get shot, it's actually a big deal because you actually take damage. And you haven't completed all your mission objectives yet, and you have to do certain things, and there's a whole lot of variety in what you have to do. Whether you're escaping from a train, or rescuing hostages, or trying to defuse bombs or plant tracking devices. There are so many the engine is so unbelievably versatile. I can't believe that the development team was able to put this out despite their relative lack of experience. This game really is a cut above anything else I've ever seen in my life, honestly. The fact that Halo feels more dated than this, despite coming out years later, that's a very strong testament to just the strong value that GoldenEye single player actually has. Everyone always talks about the multiplayer GoldenEye, but it's the single player that I'm interested in. Well, I've always enjoyed the multiplayer too, but the single player really sticks out in my mind as just being very novel and very unique due to its unique structure, its pacing, its difficulty. It just all comes together to create a game where you can jump in and play at any point and just have an absolute blast with it. Hardcore players are will try to go through the entire thing and beat everything uh on every difficulty setting, right? And doing that, it actually takes a lot of work. I would argue it's probably one of the hardest things to do on N64. I could see it being harder than F-Zero X or Rogue Squadron or anything else I would put up there. It's well, probably because I've never actually done it, but GoldenEye just seems to me like the N64 challenge that I haven't quite risen up to meet yet. And there are a number of reasons for that, but now that I've actually, had the opportunity to play GoldenEye, now that I've come back to it, now that I've, gotten used to how the game works, and now that I've started to really enjoy it, I've really started to feel as if I've really started to appreciate the value of this game. And too many people, I think, are downplaying this. I think too many people are like saying this game is overrated or that it wasn't that good to begin with or that like Nintendo can't make games. But this is better than Final Fantasy VII. It's better than MGS. Like it's better than like all of its competition. Like name a single PlayStation game that's better than this. Like really, there's nothing, right? GoldenEye just stopped the first-person shooter genre, and it really should have been like Nintendo's thing going forward. But unfortunately, they lost Rareware, and like the Western video game industry was desperately pushing like um, their alternative video game platforms, which led to like the dark age of video games that we're only just now getting out of. Like it was a nightmare. Okay, like not gonna lie, GoldenEye came out at the right time to become successful in its own era, but like after that, when the dark ages began, it became honestly kind of forgotten. And it's interesting to go back as an enthusiast and really start to appreciate not only what this game did, but the fact that like players like me who didn't necessarily grow up with it, who who have learned to love the game over the years, that people like us still exist. And this kind of goes into what I've been saying like all along is that like the good games like GoldenEye, games like The Wonderful 101, games like Fatal Frame 4, games like that are always going to be remembered and played because they are great video games. Regardless of how well they sell or how popular they are, they're still going to remain very very relevant. Wario Land 3 being another example. And in comparison, when you have stuff like The Last of Us, when you have Uncharted, when you have Undertale, stuff that's like entirely propped up by bots or shills or YouTube campaigns or like people trying to push an agenda, when all is said and done, like those things will just collapse among themselves the instant that people forget about them. And Undertale is just, I think, a really good example of that. A brand that has been forgotten by its audience, but is still talked about in the sense in an attempt to try and like keep interest going in the brand. I've realized recently that it's very obvious to me that the vast majority of Undertale posts you see on 4chan and other platforms are just from bots rather than actual people. Like actual people have stopped caring or talking about Undertale a long time ago, but now we're seeing like Toby Fox releasing bots or whatever to try to keep this relevant. HBO Max is releasing false statements that shows like Velma are doing very well, and it's safe to say that like they're doing the same thing for The Last of Us. Like these guys will go to any lengths to pretend that like what they're putting out is popular or it has it has a it has a community that's interested in it. But at the end of the day, it isn't true, right? At the end of the day, like people always come back to the stuff that they actually enjoy. They'll always come back to Super Mario 64. They'll always come back to GoldenEye. They'll always come back to Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past. Majora's Mask, was a game that was heavily downplayed back in the day. You have like all these great Nintendo games of varying levels of success and popularity that still have dedicated audiences because people actually like enjoying them. It doesn't matter how much money they make, it doesn't matter how much they sell. At the end of the day, the reason why I'm still playing GoldenEye in 2023 is because it is a great video game.